Well, more now on those elections in Iran. We're joined from London by Dr. Mehrdad Khonsari, who's a former Iranian diplomat. Dr. Khonsari, very good to speak to you this morning. Thank you for joining us. So the votes have been done. Is the turnout as we expected?
Yes, I think the turnout is generally as one would have expected. Something between 50 to 60% of the eligible voters, who are estimated to be around 54 million people, have taken part in the elections. This is in line with the kind of turnout that we have experienced in the past.
And are the exit polls as you expected to see them? We're seeing moderate conservatives leading currently.
Well, obviously, these labels, conservative, reformist, all of these things, have different meanings to different people, and they're not very accurate. But the way that I would sort of put it is that the regime has a strategic interest to keep a tight control on the result of the elections to the Assembly of Experts, where people much more closely aligned to the supreme leader are expected to be elected and to sort of be able to be in a position to determine an outcome in the course of the next 8 years, should the supreme leader die, of a successor that is much more in tune with the current people who are sort of running the show in Iran. Whereas the parliamentary elections, whilst the reformists, as they used to be called, have not been given a great deal of leeway, but candidates closer to their positions will, under new terms, like you have mentioned, moderate conservatives, be able to sort of forge a coalition that will try to be more cooperative with the government of President Rouhani, which is, you might say, a reform government, and tries to open new doors to Iran, to the international community, and so on.
And Dr. Khonsari, just on President Rouhani, how much is this election a test of his policies over the last few years and the lifting of sanctions on the country, listing of some sanctions?
Well, I think that, again, that is difficult to gauge, in the sense that the vetting process that took place in advance of the elections eliminated many of the candidates who would have been much more sympathetic to President Rouhani. But as things stand, I think that him being a candidate himself for the Assembly of Experts, as with Mr. Rafsanjani, if they receive a high number of votes, I think that would be a clear indication of the fact that his policies are popular. And I think that within the parliament itself, the composition of the parliament will be one that is reflective of greater support for him. So thereby, the majority of people who have voted are sort of trying to use this privilege as a way of expressing their protest against the hardliners, and thereby their support for President Rouhani.
Well, Dr. Khonsari, we do have to leave it there, but I do thank you very much for joining us today on TRT. Thank you.